present situation in Iraq is much improved, and another test awaits whoever wins the election. And we all know it's the war in Afghanistan. The status quo is not acceptable. Security in Afghanistan is deteriorating, and our enemies are on the offensive. From the moment the next president walks into the Oval Office, he will face critical decisions and crucial decisions about Afghanistan. Senator Obama will tell you we can't win in Afghanistan without losing in Iraq. In fact, he has it exactly backwards. It is precisely the success of the surge in Iraq that shows us the way to succeed in Afghanistan. It's by applying the tried and true principles of counterinsurgency used in the surge, which Senator Obama opposed, that we will win in Afghanistan. With the right strategy and the right forces, we can succeed in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and they are not disconnected. Success breeds success. Failure breeds failure. I know how to win wars. I know how to win wars. If I'm elected president, I'll turn around the war in Afghanistan, just as we have turned around the war in Iraq, with a comprehensive strategy for victory. I know how to do it. That strategy will have several components. Our commanders on the ground in Afghanistan say that they need at least 3 additional brigades. Thanks to the success of the surge, these forces are becoming available, and our commanders in Afghanistan must get them. But sending more forces by itself, that by itself isn't enough. It's not enough to prevail. In the 18 months that Senator Obama has been campaigning for the presidency, the number of NATO forces in Afghanistan has already almost doubled, from 35,000 in January to about 53,000 today. Yet security has still deteriorated. What we need in Afghanistan is exactly what General Petraeus brought to Iraq, a nationwide civil military campaign that is focused on providing security for the population. Today, no such integrated plan exists. When I'm Commander-in-Chief, it will. There are, of course, many differences between Afghanistan and Iraq, which any plan must account for. But as in Iraq, the center of gravity is the security of the population. The people must have security. The good news is that our soldiers have begun to apply the lessons of Iraq to Afghanistan, especially in eastern Afghanistan, where U.S. forces are concentrated. These efforts, however, are too piecemeal. The work of innovative local commanders rather than a strategy for the entire country. In particular, the U.S. needs to re-engage deeper in southern Afghanistan, which is the heartland of the Taliban. One of the reasons there's no comprehensive campaign plan for Afghanistan is because we violated one of the cardinal rules of any military operation, which is unity of command. Today, there are no less than 3 different American military combatant commands operating in Afghanistan, as well as NATO, some of whose members have national restrictions on where their troops can go and what they can do. That's no way to run a war. The top commander in Afghanistan needs to be just that, the supreme commander of all coalition forces. As Commander-in-Chief, I'll work with our allies to ensure unity of command. A successful counterinsurgency requires more than military force. It requires all instruments of our national power, and that military and civilian leaders work together at all levels under a joint plan. Too often in Afghanistan, this is not happening. What we need is to build the same kind of relationship that exists between General Petraeus and Ambassador Crocker that they forged in Iraq, supported by the best talent in the U.S. government and the resources necessary to prevail. Unity of command is also a principle I will bring to Washington. Too often, even as American soldiers and diplomats cooperate in the field, their superiors back home have been squabbling. Last year, the Bush administration appointed a war czar responsible for both Iraq and Afghanistan. That was a step in the right direction. But Afghanistan is sufficiently important that a separate Afghanistan czar is needed. I'll appoint a highly respected national security leader based in the White House, report directly to the President, whose sole mission will be to ensure we bring the war in Afghanistan to a successful end. Everyone knows the United States increased the number of soldiers in Iraq last year. What's well known, and what is well known, is that increase. But what's less well known is the Iraqis surged with us, adding over 100,000 security forces to their ranks. It's time for the Afghans to do the same thing. The Afghan army is already a great success story. It's a multi-ethnic, battle-tested fighting force. The problem is that it's too small, with a projected strength of only 80,000 troops. For years, the Afghans have been telling us they need a bigger army, and they are right. We needed to at least double the size of the Afghan army to 160,000 troops. The cost of this increase should not, however, be borne by American taxpayers alone. Insecurity in Afghanistan and the drug issue is the world's problem, and the world should share the cost. We must work with our allies to establish an international trust fund to provide long-term financing for the Afghan army. We also need to increase our non-military assistance to the Afghan government with a multi-front plan for strengthening its institutions, the rule of law, and the economy in order to provide a substantial, sustainable alternative to the drug trade. Getting control of narcotics trafficking is central to our efforts in Afghanistan. Alternative crops must be able to get to market, and traffickers must be arrested and prosecuted by enhanced special courts. We should agree on specific governance and development benchmarks with the Afghan government, then work with them closely to ensure that they are met. Just as we have worked over the past 18 months to stabilize Iraq by bringing together its neighbors, this kind of diplomacy is just as important for Afghanistan. The violence there has many causes, but chief among them is the fact that Afghanistan is treated by some regional powers as a chessboard on which to pursue their own ambitions. I will appoint a special presidential envoy to address disputes between Afghanistan and its neighbors. Our goal must be to turn Afghanistan from a theater for regional rivalries into a commons for regional cooperation. A special focus of our regional strategy must be Pakistan. As you know, the political situation in Pakistan is very unsettling, and terrorists today enjoy sanctuary. This must end. We must strengthen local tribes in the border areas who are willing to fight the foreign terrorists there. That's the same strategy that we used successfully in Anbar and elsewhere in Iraq. We must convince the Pakistanis that this is their war as much as it is ours. And we must empower the new civilian government of Pakistan to defeat radicalism with greater support for development, health, and education. Senator Obama has spoken in public about taking unilateral military action in Pakistan. In trying to sound tough, he's made it harder for the people whose support we most need to provide it. I won't bluster, and I won't make idle threats. But understand this: when I am Commander-in-Chief, there will be nowhere the terrorists can run and nowhere they can hide. I want to assure you, you can have complete confidence that I will get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice.